You are listening to the Music Ed Mentor Podcast, where we teach music educators how to build, manage, and grow thriving school music programs and have long and happy careers. I am your host, Elisa Jansen-Jones, and I am absolutely thrilled to have you sharing this time with me today. I know how valuable your time is, and I love that you trust to spend it with me, knowing that I have your best interest at heart. If you've listened to this podcast, you know that I am passionate about bringing you ways to help yourself. Whether you need advice on getting more funding, balancing your work life, or choosing a fun side gig. But this episode isn't about you or me. It's about your students. It's about creating a culture around your music program to support them, no matter what the situation is like in your school right now, whether you're teaching online or a hybrid or you're back in person but socially distancing. Because as much as we need help and advice, I think we can agree our students need help too. To help me cover this important topic, I've brought on my dear friend and one of the most genuinely happy people I know. I mean, his positivity is positively infectious. Cameron Jenkins is the founder of Full Potential Leadership, a founding member of Reach Through Music, and director of bands at Bayouville Middle School, with more than 180 students in their all-superior middle school band program. Cameron has been named the Bayou Middle School Teacher of the Year, the Gulfport School District Teacher of the Year, the Middle School Band Director of the Year by the Gulf Coast Band Directors Association, and is a life member of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. Cameron's going to walk us through his 5 Gs and share with us ways we can shine a light on our students in a way that encourages them to shine their light on others as well. You really are in for a treat with this episode. But first, if you're looking for other ways to support your students as well, my friends and dear mentors, Dr. Tim Lotzenheiser, Frank Troika, and Matthew Arau, are hosting a half-day student leadership workshop on October 31st. That's right, it's on to Halloween. If your students could use a bit of a refresher on being good citizens and helping support the culture of your program, this is not an opportunity to miss. Use the code MENTOR at checkout and get $10 off every student's registration. That code, again, is MENTOR, which is like me handing every student of yours a $10 bill. I know that these 3 outstanding clinicians have been wonderful mentors to me, and this may be just the ticket that turns around a struggling student in your program. Big thanks also to Smart Music, the supporter of this podcast, and the leader in online assessment for your band, orchestra, and choir programs. Sure, Smart Music has the largest online library of repertoire to play and learn along with, but have you tried out their sight reading builder? Simply enter in the parameters you want for a sight reading exercise and the builder will do the rest. Learn more about this powerful tool at smartmusic.com. While you're there, be sure to check out the show notes for this episode to find links to all the resources we discussed, including the aforementioned Student Leadership Workshop as well. Now, without further ado, let's learn how to support our students, build the culture in our music program, and be infectiously positive with Cameron Jenkins. Are you ready to get started now that we've had 15 minutes to just chat it up?
Yes, I'm down for whatever. This is Saturday. Yes.
Good. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself for our listening audience?
Hello, my name is Cameron W. Jenkins. I am your brother and your friend. Among so many things, I am a father to an 8-month-old that just started crawling this morning. So excited. Her name is Callie Ray Jenkins and my wife, Lou Jenkins. They really complete me. And so I'm just so excited to be here talking with my good friend, mentor, and hero, Elisa. Yeah, I'm excited. All right. That's me.
you, you make it sound so easy, and you're so sweet. But you're a school teacher too.
Absolutely. I'm a school teacher. I am a pastor. I am a leadership coach, which I absolutely love because I feel everything rises and falls on leadership. So getting in and helping student leaders grow, develop, learn, build, explore, figure things out, work together. I mean, I love it. It just really pushes us forward. And so, yeah, that's some of the things I enjoy doing. But still at the core, I'm your brother and I'm your friend because we're family. Every person that's listening to this, we are family. We're in this together. And I want, even if one person listens to this, I want them to know that we are together. We're in this. We're going to make it. Yes. And not only that, I'm your friend, somebody you can reach out to and share your story. Let's cry together. Let's smile together. Let's celebrate. Let's do it all.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love your energy. It's so infectious. And you and I sort of met for the first time. I mean, we knew about each other, but we
Yes.
met when you were speaking for the HBCU NBDC. For those of us who don't know, it's the Historically Black Colleges and Universities National Band Directors Consortium.
Uh-huh.
I think I
Yes.
got that right.
You
So
did.
we did this for 2 days, and your session, your talk about student leadership was
Hmm.
so impactful. And in my mind, I feel like student leadership always seems to be a good focus in the springtime when you're picking your student leaders for the next year and you're kind of wrapping up the school year. But I feel like now, with where the world is now, we need to be talking about student leadership and not just building our own student leaders to help serve within our program and to serve each other, but to serve themselves. And
Yes.
and so I'd love to talk about how we can really help students through these hard times, and look at it from sort of two perspectives. And you're going to have to guide me more on this
Yes.
because I haven't done a whole lot in student leadership. Teacher leadership, yes.
Yes.
Student
Yes.
leadership, less so. But I really want to talk about what can we do to help leaders be stronger, to help our students have the strength to withstand the storm, but
Mhm.
then also how we can help them back after the storm has hit and they need a little bit to recover. Okay, those are my two
Yes.
thoughts. Now it's your turn.
Listen, I love it. I absolutely love it. Let's start with the first thing you said, and that is talking about student leadership. Student leadership and any form of leadership, they share a lot of commonalities. And so anytime a leader is brought on board, there is some assembly required. So you ever get that furniture that comes in the mail and you have to like put all the pieces together and read the instructions, but you have to have a picture. You have to know what is the end result of what we're trying to build here. So as an educator, I teach middle school band. I also assist at the high school. So I'm building leadership principles and practices even with my sixth graders, teaching them how to serve each other, how to listen to each other, how to see each other. That's a hard thing to do even as an adult, just to say, I see you, I hear you, and you're valuable. So I call it my 5G principle that really helps a lot of my student leaders to really know what's going on and to be aware. The first thing is this. So this is the first G, is to get their name correct. That is so important when it comes to leading anyone, not just making up a name. You don't have the right or privilege to give someone a nickname if the relationship has not been established. So make sure we know that. Number two, once the relationship is established, you want to make sure you're saying their name the way that they want it to be said. There's a book here called How to Win Friends and Influence People. Yes. There's a whole chapter on here just about, understanding people and getting to know them, getting to know their interests. And it's William Shakespeare that's quoted with saying, the sweetest one word in any person's language is their name. And so when I say Elisa, all of a sudden now I have tapped into every person that calls you by their name, whether it's a friend, whether it's a colleague, or, you were raised with 9 children in the house. So imagine, now I'm tapping into brothers and sisters using the same language here. The same is true for our students. So, and we want to teach our student leaders to do that, is to get the name correct. And that's hard. We train the high school student leaders as well. That's hard because when a freshman comes up, you want to give them like a little, cool name that you think is cool. But I tell them to avoid that. Call them by the name that they want to be called. Now, in this digital age, how do you do this with virtual students and in-person students? How do you make that happen? So my very first project, day one out of the gate, I have virtual and in-person students at the same time. So I'm in that category during this global pandemic. So with that, I wanted my students to connect not through a music assignment first, not through a playing assignment first. I want them to connect on a human level to hear each other's name. So the very first assignment, and I use Cami, which is an extension of Google Classroom. So with one Cami assignment, everybody can edit on one document. And I said, give me a video, just a short one saying, hello, my name is, say your first name, and that's it. And so we did that, and everybody posted their videos. Then for your section, every slide was a section. So flute, clarinet, oboe, saxophone, trumpet, so forth and so on. And then I told you to go on to your particular section and say hello to every single section member and call them by name. That is huge, to call them by name so that you know who they are. We had students to move in from March into now, of course. So we had some new students to join the mix, and I wanted to be able to call them by name. Cortland or Rihanna or Cameron or whatever the case may be. And it makes such a huge difference. Then I said, okay, now go find 5 other people in the band and say hello to them. So they went crazy. So now when you pull that document up, you have up to 15 people that have said hello to you using your name. So that is step one in the 5G, is call someone by their name. Yep.
Yeah, I love that because I have had, of course, so many variations of my own name. I think
Yes.
we're worried that if we call somebody, like if we have to ask their name, it sounds like we didn't already know what their name was. But I have no problem when people say, now, how do I pronounce your name correctly? And I'm always happy to
Yes.
tell them. It's like Lisa with the long E, right? I'm into
Yeah.
e-learning. Well, I'm e-Lisa. I've
I
written
love it.
e-books, right?
Yes.
Like it's e-Lisa. And I had never have a problem with that. Now, if you say my name wrong, that tells me that you didn't care to listen or
Mhm.
ask, and that maybe you were just afraid to make the assumption. And so you're absolutely right. Getting people's names, pronounced right. You know Dr. Brock. Did
Mhm.
you watch her sessions?
Yes.
When I first read her name, I thought it's Tomisha, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Tomisha. And so, but I wanted to be sure, so I asked her, "Hey, Dr. Brock, do you prefer going by Dr. Brock, or how do I say your first name?" And she
Yes.
said it's Tomisha. And I was
Wow.
like, awesome. And so now I know
Yes.
how to call her by name. And and so you're absolutely right. And people love to be creative about their names. They're opting for old family names. So thank you for reiterating that from someone who often gets their name screwed up.
Wow. Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. It's difficult because when I don't get your name right, I say that you're invisible. So it's only until I get that piece correct that I'm saying, as a human, I see you and you're important and you matter and you're an important puzzle piece to this whole frame of life and what we're doing here. So that is step one. It is foundational. And also, it's okay to be human and say, can you help me with your name again? That adds so much value to the equation. The story of Steph Curry, the basketball player, NBA. Okay, so he had a contract with Nike, and this is a $14 billion mistake. That's billion with a B. Nike, in this new pitch to sign him for his second contract, called him the wrong name. There are articles out there all about this, and they call him Stefan instead of Stephen, right? Because his name is Stephen Curry. They said Stefan. And that little bitty difference cost them $14 billion. He went and signed with Under Armour. So I say this to everybody that's listening, to the students that you're teaching, the people that's in front of you, even if it's adults, to get their name right, you've won them by $14 billion. And I'll leave it right there.
All right. So G number one is get their
Yes,
name right. What's number
absolutely.
two?
Number two is you want to generate a smile. That is so important. And let me tell you this, Elisa, it is so hard now when I'm teaching in person to generate a smile because I'm wearing a mask. And every single one of my students, they're also wearing a mask. That's the name of the game in order for us to be in the same building and space together. So I have to use a technique that they really teach you in customer service, and that is to smile through the phone or to smile through the email. Have you ever gotten an email from someone and you can tell this person is smiling through this email. Like you can really read the love that's coming off the page. The same has to be true in this time more than ever. Particularly when I can't see your smile, I have to be able to sense that you are smiling with your eyes, with your tone of voice, with your inflections, that I know that you are glad that I'm here, that I'm not irritating you. I'm not pushing you off. I am glad that you're here. I am totally present. I'm not on my phone. I'm not occupied with other things. I'm literally here with you to let you know. And I'm smiling in the process. In the customer service realm, you know, a lot of companies, big $1 million companies, they will post like on their screen for their employees. They will post, you know, remember to smile, smile then dial. Like that's a catchphrase in business, smile then dial. What about that in teaching and education? You know, when you approach whatever you're doing, approach it full to the point that you have smiles to give. You can't show up empty because when you show up to empty, everything that happens, you know, small that gets under your skin becomes a big thing. But if you show up full, you have so much to give. You know, I can give a zillion smiles in one day and I'm cool because the next day I'm going to show up with another zillion smiles ready to go. And your kids can sense that, mask or no mask. They know if there's a smile there.
I love that. So smile before you dial.
Yes, absolutely. Smile before you dial. Yes. And smile in your emails, smile in your correspondences, you know, even with your administrators and other colleagues, you know, you want to be that place, that source of hope, that source of light, that source of good things, you know, and that just builds so much about you. Even before you show up, you can see that light approaching. And it's like, yes, this is somebody I want to be around. When it comes to like recruiting for a sixth grade band, they really join a personality. I mean, they really don't know what band is all about. I mean, they'll learn that across the way and, you know, through the process, but they're really joining you. And so you have to master the art of smiling. Again, another hint to the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. There's an entire chapter in this book about smiling. I promise you, it is an entire chapter in here about what happens when we smile. It says, I'm open. It says, I'm here. And it says, I appreciate you.
And some of us may not feel like smiling a whole lot right now
Yes.
because times are so tough
Yes.
and we may not feel like smiling, and but that shouldn't be an excuse. When we smile, it physically tells our mental brain, right, that we're
Yes.
happy. It's like
Yes.
that same trick with breathing. If we just slow down our breath,
Yes.
then that convinces our body that things are okay. Because when we're breathing like so high in the chest and so aggressive, I don't want to say aggressively, you know, anxiously,
Right.
then it's convincing our brain that we're anxious. So if we can control our physical body, it will actually change our brain instead of being the other way around, where we wait for our brain to be ready to smile. If we smile, our brain will respond.
Right. And that puts you in the place of control. You become the thermostat and not just the thermometer. You become the change agent. You know what? I can control this. I can't control what's going on during COVID-19, and neither can any other person that's listening, but I can control my smile and I can show up with it every single day. You know, what do they call that person that sees a glass that's halfway? What do they call them if they see them as half full? What do we call that word?
An optimist,
Right, right. And then what do we call the person that sees it as half empty?
a pessimist.
Right, right. But then there are people that's like me, that I'm neither an optimist or a pessimist. However, I'm a game changer. And a game changer says it doesn't matter if it's half empty or half full. I know where to get more water. And that is the game changer. So I can show up full every single day because I know where to get more water. When I spend time with my family, I'm filled back up. When I spend time with my wife, she's my superhero. It just fills me back up. You know, when I learn something, when I gain new knowledge, when I meet new friends, I just get full and I know where to find those fountains. And when you know that, friend, you can show up to the game with a smile, excited. You can bring the energy because you're full.
I love that. I love that so much.
But you know what's weird? Okay, so some people that's listening, they may be driving while they're listening right now because I listen to your podcast and drive in my commute time. So if you're listening and you're driving, some of you that's driving, you're the kind of person that when that needle on the gas light gets half, whatever you want to call it, empty or full, you're like, okay, I got to go get gas. Now, some of us are at the, quarter full mark. Okay, I got to go get gas. Some of us are at the light is on. I know how many miles I can make it. I can go 20 more miles. But you know what? Those are the kind of people that end up running out of gas and running into a wall and experiencing burnout and can't generate a smile. They can't produce a smile because they are so under the ropes and their tank really is empty. And if you're listening, I just want to encourage you, friend, pull into the quickest gas station of life and fill back up. Don't wait until the summer. Well, my teachers and educators, don't wait until the summer to do the things you enjoy. Build it into your semester. Build it into your work week that you spend some time doing things that make you healthy, make you happy, and make you whole. It is so important that you approach the job in that regard.
God, I love that so much. Um, I will confess I did get up this morning and drive up into the Colorado National Monument and did my morning yoga routine on the edge of a
Yes.
cliff overlooking the valley. And that you're absolutely right. I need to, like, I've realized that if I don't get outside every day, my tank is absolutely going to get empty. So
Yes.
I've really tried to be intentional about work can wait, right?
Yes.
Everything else can wait because if I don't take that time for myself to refill, then I'm not going to have anything else to give. And we've said this so many times on this podcast that you have to take care of yourself,
Yes.
and yet people don't do it. So I want to get back to your 5Gs, but I
Hmm.
also kind of love that we're on this topic because
Yes.
I hear so much about servant leadership and serving other people, and I feel like people assume you can't do both, that you can't both serve others and give so much to others and give to yourself, that if you're giving to yourself, then you're not having enough to give to others. Do you get what I'm saying? There should be
Right.
help us find that balance.
Here's the image here. So have you seen the picture of the airplane that's in the air and then there's a fueling tank that comes above? That's another aircraft and it's filling them up as you're flying. That is the exact image of what happens when you're serving somebody else. In the process of serving someone else, it is filling up your tank. Like you're getting full because here's what you're realizing. We have more in common than we originally thought. I can understand your pain point and your pressure point, and I do have something in which I can give. So now I'm feeling value and I'm adding value to the next person. That's huge. That's what leadership is. It is adding value. It is not subtracting from you, but it's actually adding to you. I use this particularly with words. I use this a lot with my student leaders, and I tell them to picture a hammer. And I got one right here. Here it is. So imagine a
Oh
hammer.
my gosh,
The
you do have a
hammer,
hammer.
I got a hammer, yes. I'm a visual learner, friend. I gotta be able to see it. Okay, so imagine this hammer, friend, as your words. This can either be a tool or it can be a weapon. Now, it's a tool when you're building up and when you're constructing and when you're placing one board with the other board and connecting the dots. That's why we're supposed to use our words. But now when we use it as a weapon to demolish and to tear down, that's using it inappropriately. So I always ask my students, how are you using your hammer? In that situation, you had something to come up. Okay, great. Now, how are you using your hammer? And in servant leadership, you always use your hammer to add value. Period. There are no exceptions there. I'm always using my hammer to say, you know what? I value you. Thank you for who you are and not just for what you do.
Oh, that's so helpful. That's awesome.
Yes,
All right. So G number one was get their name correct. Number
that's right.
two was generate a smile. What's number three?
Yes. Number three is to gain common ground. And we were just in that just a little bit. So gaining common ground is so huge. Trying to get your students to see, make those connections of what you have in common, which is weird because our society kind of teaches us to earmark the differences. We're different in this way and that way. And immediately when we see someone, we're kind of trained, pre-programmed, if I can use that term, to think, okay, now what are the differences here? Instead of thinking, what are the areas of similarity? Now, if you can build enough area of similarity, it becomes a foundation in which you can build a house. If you can lay that groundwork properly. And that takes some time. And it's so simple, but we don't think about it. Like, for example, when were you born? What's your birthday? What month? What day?
November 25th.
November 25th. Oh, my wife and I got married November 21st. So that's so cool. Now, imagine just the month of November. Now we have an area of commonality, and we're just talking about a calendar month. Going back to the teaching virtually and in person thing, I did this with my students. I posted a calendar, for the fall of this year and the spring of next year. And I said, tell me when your birthday. And they got a chance to see both sixth grade, seventh grade, and eighth grade all using one document. How many students are in band? First of all, that's important that you're part of this larger family, right? And then number two, wait a minute, I'm not by myself. Somebody else has a birthday with me in November. I'm born in March 28th. Hey, talking about March babies. But that commonality of when you're born. And then in this same point, once I have a common ground, now we have a place to celebrate. Think about how powerful this is, Elisa. You're going to celebrate in November, and I am going to be celebrating in November. Now, when November rolls around, there is no way I'm going to forget to say, hey, friend, happy birthday, right? And when November rolls around, even if you say, okay, Cameron, was it the 21st? And I say, yes, the 21st. You're going to say, man, congratulations, happy anniversary to you and Lou. That is celebration. And you have to have that as number three as a part of your 5G network when it comes to building student leadership and helping in hard times, finding those areas of common ground, because that's what we can celebrate is in the territory of common ground.
Fantastic. All right. So what's number 4?
Okay, number 4 is you have to get them talking. It's the whole idea of being interested in somebody else's interest, right? To open yourself up, to learn more, to explore, to find out about someone else, to get them talking. I've learned and I've trained my student leaders to use questions that's going to open up the conversation. So you want to use something like that starts with what? What can you tell me about this? What was your experience here? Or how? How does this happen? How does this work? I kind of made an epiphany shift or a transition in my teaching about 3 years ago, I would say, maybe 3.5 years ago, in which I stopped giving the answer, like even to sixth graders. I stopped giving the answer, and I just build more questions. And the greater my questions, the more it kind of empowered them to take ownership of what they were learning. So instead of saying, no, that's not how you count a quarter note, you count a quarter note like this. I kind of transform that and say, okay, what went wrong in that measure? And boom, like popcorn, they're starting to think and they have to listen even more critically. Yes, that's right. We did miscount the quarter note. How do we count this better? Now they're starting to think, oh, I got the answer. Boom, boom, boom. Now it takes a little bit longer, but it's so worth it to give them that ability to start talking and start thinking out loud and start generating their own thoughts and having ownership. Ownership doesn't happen when you just sit still while I instill, which is like a lecture. Ownership happens when it's collaborative. Let's talk together. Let's get around this concept together. And it can happen in small chunks all along your teaching day or even outside the classroom. I love it when you talk about off the podium skills. I love that. So even off the podium, you have to learn how to be good at asking questions. I feel like you're always about 3 questions away from your next breakthrough, whatever that is, in business, in career, in life, in teaching, in a lesson, in teaching the A-flat major scale, whatever. You're about 3 good questions away. What's in your key signature? What note is going to trip you up? And how do you play that note? Yes. So 3 questions, boom, 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 boom. We're ready to go.
I'm just like soaking this in because it's so good. No,
Listen, I love it. I'm having so much fun.
oh God, no, but you're so right. I'm sitting here thinking, of course, through all of my doctoral coursework,
hmm
and I was
Wait, hold on.
real.
By the way, I'm so proud of you. So proud of you. I hate to interrupt, but I am so proud of you for making that giant leap of faith. And I want you to know that there's a community of us rallying around you. You can't see us all the time. You can't hear us all the time, but we're going, go Elisa, go Elisa, go Elisa. Oh,
Oh,
anyway, go ahead.
thank you. Well, one of the recent classes I was taking was like like learning theory,
Mm,
right? And
mm,
I have notoriously been like anti-theory. Like, what is the point of theories? Just show me what works, right? It doesn't.
yes.
Anyway, I digress. The point is, I was learning about learning theories, and I ended up just loving it, just eating it up. And so, what you really just did was you said that you have taken it from taking a behaviorist approach to your students, right? Oh, you
hmm
played that wrong. it's this fingering instead, right?
Hmm.
Where you just, it's a stimulus response, stimulus response. But by asking questions and making them think, you're shifting it to constructivism, which is
Yes.
a much deeper and richer learning experience, right?
Yes.
We're all so capable of telling other people what they're doing wrong.
Yes.
But if you can help them take ownership of what they're doing, then they internalize the change.
And you're training them to become problem solvers, like on the spot problem solvers, which is so huge because when you go in and you take your choir, your orchestra, or your band into sight read, that's when we find out if you really trained problem solvers. Can they solve this problem in real time? And you have to do that all along the way. So that's another one of the reasons why I had to make that shift, that change. I'm like, look, I just can't give them the answer every time because there'll be some situations where you can't give the answer to 60 students in your ensemble right before you sight read. They have to know a lot of this stuff for themselves. And yes, that construction on their own, a theory of learning, yes, they're getting it. They're in there. And you don't get it right all the time, but you encourage them all along the way and kind of build that path for them. And the end result is a leader. I feel like everybody in the band program or the choir program or the orchestra program, if you teach elementary music, you want your students to be thinkers, and thinkers become leaders.
And it's all comes down to empowerment.
Yes.
We're the ones who can open the door and help them walk through. We're the ones who can build them up so that they can climb higher.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That's good. I love it.
I like mountain metaphors.
Yes. Well, that makes sense. You enjoy, and that's one of your fountains. That's one of the things, the places you go to fill you back up. And it's so good. When you reach the top of a mountain, it really gives you perspective of what you can achieve next. So when you get to the very top, if you have been trained on how to work through these problems and get up there, and when you get up there, you say, wow, there's another mountain over there that'll give me another view. I got to get that one. We got to go over to that one. And you will notice that in your students. You start to see that once you've really trained them in this way to be problem solvers and to be thinkers and to figure things out, that when they reach something or accomplish something, they will come to you and say, okay, what's next? Is that all you have? I mean, what's next? What's the next mountain? And now they're really empowered and the magic begins to happen at that point.
Well, I feel like it's so hard right now because climbing a mountain is hard,
Mm-hmm.
right? Reaching any goal is challenging. And it's
Mm-hmm.
so much easier for students to go down the mountain, right?
Mm-hmm.
It might feel so much more comfortable for them to just turn tail and run and go back to where they're comfortable, whether it's playing video games or watching Netflix or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
There've been so much downtime where students have just been on their own. How do we help encourage them to understand that it's the hard challenges, it's the work that pays off?
This is so good. Okay, so my nerd side is about to come out in 5 seconds. So I'm watching a documentary, right, about how you do tight roping, like how do you walk across a rope over the Niagara Falls. And so the guy is explaining he comes from a family of, family members worked for the circus and they did tightrope. So it's all in his family, his father, his grandfather, his mother, so forth and so on. And he said something that made so much sense and it hit me like, wow. He said, before you can tightrope at 300 feet above anything, you have to start at ground level. Keep your rope low and steady. Low and steady. So for the teachers and the students that, may listen to this, I want you to just go for the low hanging fruit. Yeah, the mountain is there, but let's go for the low hanging fruit. Instead of thinking about, way out there on the mountain, let's say, you know what, in 1 hour, I want to be in this place. And then get to that place and celebrate it. That's what we don't do enough of, is to celebrate, yes, you made it to this place. It may be 40% of the way there, but you made it to this place. Congratulations. You talk about going through your doctoral work. Celebrate when you get an A on something. Just don't say, oh, well, that was an A. Okay, now I got to get ready for the next thing. Actually celebrate it. And it could be something as simple as, trying a new tea or, buying something for yourself or doing something, spending time to just give back to you for a job well done. Don't wait until you're hooded before you celebrate and give a pat on your own shoulder. And I think everybody that's listening to to this can walk away with maybe just that nugget, at least give yourself a pat on the back all along the way.
No, it's so true. That reminds me of there was a time when was my daughter's birthday. And what did she want to do for her 14th birthday? She wanted to go climb a mountain. She wanted to go do a
Yes.
14er. And I was
Yes.
like, oh, okay. And my husband was busy with a job. So I took her, her friend, and my two little boys. The youngest was only 9. And
Oh.
I took them and we stayed the night at the little town at the base of the mountains. And
Mhm.
it snowed up on the peaks that night.
Wow.
And it didn't stop us. I was like, it's okay. We're going to be all right. So here I was, the sole parent, driving my minivan up to 12,000 feet on this
Yes.
dirt road. We called it the adventure van. And
Yes.
I hiked those kids all the way to the top. But we did it by saying, let's get to that next point. Let's just get up to
Mm.
that. Let's get to the top of that waterfall and look down.
Ooh.
Oh, right up there is the first saddle. Let's get up there and we'll count how many pica we see on our way up to that first saddle. And then it was,
Yes.
let's get up to that next point. But you're absolutely right that that's how we help encourage them. We say things like, you can do anything for 20 seconds, or,
Yes.
let's just push that little bit further. And every time we get them to do that and celebrate it, we're feeding that need for positivity. And
Yes.
hopefully that helps. But you're right, just starting with like, okay, let's just go 3 steps and then
Yes.
celebrate.
Now, see, although there was an adventure, a family adventure with friends involved, but Trinity will never forget that. How going and making it happen and going against the odds and running toward, I mean, that's a lot of fear that's there. It's snow out. I mean, we're in a
Oh,
minivan, anything
yeah.
can happen
It
at
was
this altitude.
slippery.
Yes, absolutely. But you go for it. But that's an image of life. So many times in life, you can't control the weather. You can't control what's going to happen. Literally, if it starts to rain in your life, and rain happens, let me speak for Gulfport, Mississippi. It comes out of nowhere sometimes. The meteorologist didn't see it. It's not on any app. It just comes out of nowhere. And that's life. Sometimes storms will come out of nowhere. You mentioned storms at the beginning of this, but friend, we are now in our third storm, like literal storm that is coming our way here on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Hurricane Sally just moved beyond us last week, and now we have another tropical depression headed this way at this time. But here's what I know. You can't control the storm, but what you can control is the mending of your nets during that downtime. So we live in a fishing community, a shrimping community, and anytime a storm is approaching, they bring in all of the ships. And you know what those fishermen, what they spend their time doing? Mending the weak places of their net so it's ready for the next big catch. And isn't that the moment of right now in education, that with all the storms that's going on around us, we had to pull in our ship. Marching band doesn't look the same. Beginner band doesn't look the same. Choir doesn't look the same. K through 12, music doesn't look the same. However, it has afforded us a moment to carefully comb over our net and say, wait a minute, that's a break right here in my net. Let me mend this up so that when I approach next year or next semester and I get a big catch, it won't fall through my net because I've taken the proper time to get this right. And that is the lesson you taught your daughter and her friends and even the boys when they went through that yes, sometimes the storms come in, but we're going to keep pushing forward because it's going to cause us to mend some places here that now we can use this later in the future for the big catch.
Yeah, we need that so much right now. The
Yes.
forests are burning down, but hopefully we can help them grow back bigger and stronger, right?
Yes. Yes. One seed at a time.
One thing at a time. Oh man.
Yes, one seed at a time.
I,
Have you read that book, The Man Who Plants Oak Trees, or The Man Who Plants Trees? I think that's the official title. But
no.
it's a short read, and it's about this man. It's he's saving this community that, the forest is gone. He plants an oak tree, essentially an acorn, every single day, and he does this religiously, like on time and on target. And after a series of 5 to 10 years, now you have this beautiful change in the dynamic of this area. 20 years later, even after he's gone, the residual of that, it becomes an orchard of trees, oak trees, that's transforming the air quality, the people that's there, they're happier people, so forth and so on. It's a really cool read. But that's what we do as teachers, as educators. We just don't plant acres. We're planting oak trees. We know the potential that's there and what can happen over time if we just continue to encourage, to water, to nurture, and to keep them moving forward. If we're diligent to do that, we can transform a city, a campus, and dare I say, humanity.
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right. So we
So we're
have,
working through. We have, go ahead.
okay, we have get their name correct,
Yes.
generate a smile,
Yes.
gain common ground,
Yes.
get them talking,
Absolutely.
and wrap it up with
This is the final one. So this is to guard the culture. You want to guard the culture. Culture is not what you say in your mission statement. It's not what's on the banner. It's what you allow. Let me say that one more time for the person that may be taking notes. Culture is what you allow. So for example, if you say in your mission statement or in your student handbook that you have to be on time, but you allow somebody to show up 15 minutes late or 30 minutes late, what you allow becomes the standard. Now you have to figure out in this season when it comes to helping our students, helping them get back on track in times where they may be hurting at home. They may have lost a family member to this virus. Mom may have lost her job. Dad may have lost his job. In this season, the way in which we help them best is to create an amazing culture so that they can come in and thrive. We were talking just a few moments ago about the seed. If I take sweet corn as a seed, I'm country. You can hear it in my voice. And I plant it here in Mississippi at the right time, in the right climate. It's going to produce a harvest 1,000 times more than just that one seed. But if I take the same seed and I plant it in a climate that's not conducive, the culture is not conducive for that seed to grow. Maybe it's too hot there or too cold there. It is not going to produce. It's not the seed. It was the culture. It was the climate. So as a navigator of culture, as the teacher, as the adult in the room, you have to make sure some things we're just not going to allow. Okay. So this is on my we're not going to allow list. Number one, I'm not going to allow anyone in my sphere of influence to complain about something that you cannot control. That is not allowable because I can't control it, you can't control it, and complaining about it is not going to help us. So let me use our marching band for an example. So it is Mississippi, friend, like for real. And when it's hot outside, it is for real hot outside. We train our student leaders that you cannot say on the practice field, it's hot out here. The only thing that you're allowed to say, if you want to refer to the weather, is it's exciting. Because although we're outside, we can't control this heat, but we can control this culture that's out here. And the culture we want is one of positivity, one of excitement. So you can say, yes, it's exciting out here. And it can be your code, but your word, your language is going to be, it's exciting out here. Because we can't control that. We can control how excited we are about the task at hand. Whether it's 100 degrees, with a heat index that makes it 110, we can't control that. But we can control while we're out here. We're going to be excited. We're going to get into it. We're going to make it fun for us so that it's fun for the audience. And, you have to translate that for your own context. Don't allow negativity into your space. You are the gatekeeper of the culture as the adult in the room or as the leader in the room, dare I say. And so make sure that you're leading from a standard of what is not allowed. Second thing that's not allowed is you're not allowed to beat down any person with your words. If you're going to use your words, as we said earlier, you're going to use it to build somebody up. You're going to find the positive. Even if you have to correct them, you're going to do it using a kindness burrito. You're going to wrap it in kindness. And if that person needs more than one burrito, then you have to serve them more than one burrito of kindness. That's okay. But it's going to be wrapped in how you say it, how you present it, tone of voice. Everything is going to be laced with kindness and appreciation. And when I say appreciation, Elisa, I'm talking about real appreciation. And when I appreciate you not for what you do, but for who you are. And here's my question to the people that's listening. Your students, do they know that you appreciate them for who they are? Not because they play baritone or oboe, or not because they're the all-state tuba player, or not because they do this or do that, but because of who they are. You are a valuable part of what we do, and we don't want to do this without you. And friend, we need you. Now, when a student knows that you're genuine about that, it is a game changer. And that happens with how you protect the culture. Now they can grow, they can thrive, they can come alive, they will flourish under the right conditions.
that is so powerful. I lo-
You're
we
so kind.
no we so it's so true though, and we're focusing most of this on students, but
Mm,
truly we should all just take a week to practice not complaining about what we can't control,
mm,
and because there's so much of that right now that we can't control.
Mm,
You know, we and it's toughest, I think, when we feel like there is some level of control we can have, like we
mhm.
can control other people with our words or our thoughts or our own deeds, but we really can't.
Right. You can control your approach. You can control your attitude and you can control your response. I always say this, I'm responsible for my response, right? And so if I pre-train myself for how I'm going to respond, it makes me more adaptive to the situation. That is what crisis management training is. It is, I know something can happen in the future, but let me pre-plan my response. When the fire drill goes off at the school, you don't just go crazy around in circles and like you don't know what you're doing. You follow the process of what you do in that situation. Why? Because you've pre-planned your response. So here's my question. When an administrator tells you, oh no, we can't do that, what is going to be your pre-planned response? You say to them, thank you so much for hearing me out. I appreciate that. And I'm going to look into some other avenues and resources, and I'm going to connect with other colleagues online because I'm a part of this Facebook group. I watch this webinar. I listen to this TED Talk, so forth and so on, or this podcast. And now I'm going to generate some ideas and I'll come back with you. And I just want to hear your insight. That is your response. And if you pre-plan that as your response, nobody can knock you down and keep you down. Friend, you would get back up every single time because I'm responsible for how I respond. I'm also responsible for my attitude. I'm going to approach it full, like we talked about earlier, and make sure that gratitude is the filter in which I'm seeing everything and hearing everything. There's a concept, Elisa, I will leave the audience with this. There's a concept called fluency, like with a language. Are you fluent in any other language other than English,
Not
Elisa?
yet.
Okay, it's on the way. All right. So when you become fluent, you have to hear it in your mother tongue. Like you hear, let's say Spanish, for example. Somebody says hola, and you hear that, okay, in Spanish. Then you translate that in your mother tongue. Then you respond back in Spanish, right? But going to fluency, you walk away from that middle ground to where you're just able to hear it and respond, hear it and respond. I am determined in this season to make gratitude my mother tongue so that no matter what I hear, I'm responding with gratitude. No matter what I say is being said with the layer and the filter of gratitude because I'm responsible for that. So I'm trying to make gratitude my mother tongue. No matter what I hear, no matter what they say, no matter what's in the email, my response is going to be laced with gratitude and thankfulness.
I'm going to put that like as a sticky note on my computer here. Focus of the day every day is gratitude because it's true. It opens you up to
Yes.
so much joy. So let me ask you this as we're kind of wrapping up our time together.
Yes.
How do we help students who are in crisis or who have experienced crisis in their own lives?
Very first thing is to listen. Very first thing is to listen and listen with an open heart. Listen not to fix, listen not to change, just to listen. The art of listening, to look a student in the eye. And again, it goes back to them knowing that I value you for who you are and to hear them with every part of you. And then afterwards to say, I'm here for you. That's it. I don't have to fix it. I don't have to change. And then to know when to go to a professional. It's certain things that's beyond your scope and your realm. That's okay. A lot of times as an educator, I think of myself in the medical field. I'm just the paramedic. I see them out in the field. I know what's going on, but I know exactly where to take them. So it's knowing where those resources are, how to help them. Maybe there's an immediate fix that I could do to get them to the next place, the hospital or the specialist, et cetera, so forth and so on, and to encourage them all along the way. We've had students in our program that have contemplated suicidal thoughts, and it has been a joy of my career and profession to be there for them when they went into the hospital and then when they came out to receive them just as I would a student that went to the hospital for a broken leg. When they come back from being in the mental hospital to say, you know what, you're valuable. We love you. We're so glad to see you. And we're here all along the way. We're in this together. For them to know that, that's huge. That is powerful. That's the best way we can help is by listening and actively being there.
Yeah, not treating them like they're a pariah because you're
Right.
absolutely right that treating the brain and mental and emotional needs is just like treating any other part of the body.
Yes, absolutely. I would never look at you weird if you said, "Oh, I broke my arm, Cameron. I was doing my bike thing, broke my arm," which I never want that to happen because Elisa's my friend.
It never
And
will.
but that's right, it never will. Yes, but if you come and say, I had to go to the bone specialist and he had to get a scan and all that, I'll be, "Oh my goodness, friend, how can I help? What can I send? I'm sending food your way, so forth and so on." The same has to be true. We have to remove the stigma. We have to remove the labels, and we have to be able to see the person as human and valued and a valuable part of what we do. People are not irreplaceable. They're not irreplaceable. We just can't be, substitute people in and out. People are valuable. They're unique. They are who they are, and we're so thankful for them.
Awesome. Cameron, this has just been
Yes.
such a joy. Like every conversation with you really is. So let's talk about what's coming up in the calendar. I
Yes.
mean, I usually try and keep the podcast so it's really, timeless. So if somebody's listening 6 months from now, it's still just as relevant. I think we've completely done that. I would listen to this every week,
So
because it's such good stuff. We need
thank you,
we
friend.
need these reminders. We really do. But we do have a couple of things coming up. You and I are going to collaborate on a leadership thing in November.
Yes, I'm so excited. So we've been having these conversations with college band directors and college students, and we're going to continue those each month. The first one we did was Alcorn State University, my alma mater, and Auburn University, and it's a beautiful talk. You can find us there on Facebook, Reach Through Music, our Facebook page, and you can go back and watch that replay. But it's so powerful to hear the social emotional learning piece we've been talking about in education. Definitely across the last couple of months, to hear it from the voice of students. It is so strong. It is so powerful. So we are leading up to November 14th, which is going to be a huge and exciting student leadership and social emotional learning collaboration, both for the student and for the band director. So we're talking high school students and student leaders, college students and student leaders, and band directors from high school, middle school, college, and every single thing in between. And not just band, all directors. I mean, we want everybody to be involved. This is for the music community. It's for all of our family to get together and to invest in our student leaders and also to invest in our music educators.
Yeah, and for those of us who need a little structure as well for ourselves, I've created a 5 day. We're calling it the 5 day wellness challenge, where they can
Hmm.
sign up to get these emails every day, and you contributed to that as well, and that's going to come out mid October.
Ah,
So we'll be posting these things on all of the Conselmer Education and Conselmer Institute Facebook pages to help promote them, and then at education.con-selmer.com as well. And the fact that I
yes.
can say that and that I work for Conselmer is still mind-blowingly freaking cool to me.
Yes, I love it. I love it. And again, I'm so proud of you. And yes, it was so much fun to do the video for you and for Concept. It was so much fun to do the symposium this summer. That was just so much fun. And I can't wait for the student leadership because that's my heart to do that November the 14th. It'll be a one-day conference, so boom, all at one time. And it's just going to be jam-packed with great content. There's a track for the students, high school, student, college, and also a track for the directors. Just excited.
Yeah, we're really excited, and I really look forward to every chance that we get to collaborate. So, thank you so much for being my guest for this podcast episode. I know it's going to be just a huge help for people and a shining light of positivity in this time with so much darkness.
Yes. Well, let me say this. I listen to the podcast. I am a subscriber. I also did a rating of 5 stars because I get so much from this. And this is a labor of love that you give to us as a community and as a family, Elisa. And I know everyone can't jump on here and see you, face to face or hear your voice in this way that I'm doing. So let me take advantage of this and say thank you on behalf of all of us that listen and gain value and the hours that you put into this, and it's not going into a void echo chamber. It is being heard and it is meaningful to us. And we're saying thank you for who you are.
Well, thank you all, everybody, for listening, and of course, it's my opportunity to serve and the way that I serve our community, and I love it. I hope you got as much out of that conversation as I did. It truly is so important for us to support our students right now. And by doing so, it really strengthens us too. It helps us be happier and more fulfilled. It's a trickle-down effect, really. Remember, you have a couple of opportunities to help your students learn and grow coming up. The workshop with Dr. Tim, Frank Troika, and Dr. Matthew Rao on October 31st, where, remember, you can use code MENTOR at checkout to get a discount. And the Reach Through Music Social Emotional Learning Workshop on November 14th. I've put the links to both experiences in the show notes page at smartmusic.com/blog. Be sure to check out all of the awesomely powerful features Smart Music has to offer while you're there. They really are a huge resource for online learning right now and always. I'll be back with you again soon with another awesome episode. Until then, my dear friend, know that you are making a difference. All of the time, talent, effort, and joy you infuse into your job and your life matters. Just keep teaching on.